Okay, good. So part 4 is intended to become a library of modular learning experiences for professional practice, and we're launching that now. We launched a couple of weeks ago, as you all know. And I suppose the context for part 4 is that, you know, we feel that the CPD, the commercial CPD market, has really atrophied. We know that it's expensive, that it's burdensome to find good quality CPD, that often the CPD that you end up getting from commercial suppliers and partners is ineffective. And we know this anecdotally, but the ARB have explored that, I suppose, on a much more rigorous basis in the survey that they published probably 2 years ago now, really highlighting the need for change. And alongside that, there are new regulatory burdens, and we know that that must be of concern to those of you out there in industry and in practice. The Building Safety Act has given the ARB beefed up powers to monitor ongoing professional competence alongside the CPD review that I've already alluded to. The RIBA has published its Way Ahead framework, which includes a number of what they call mandatory core competencies, which will, over the next couple of years, become a condition of chartered membership renewal. So though they're voluntary now, they're going to become compulsory. In other words, it's not going to be just the 35 hours of RIBA CPD core curriculum, but there's going to be some more kind of detailed, I suppose, and nuanced testing of your professional competence. And we feel that we want to support you in doing that, and we want to challenge you also in creating really exciting, innovative learning experiences that deepen your practice and bring you back into contact with the studio space. So our response is part 4. We think that part 4 allows us to continue on our mission of uniting academia and practice, which, as many of you will know, is fundamental to our model and what we're here to do. It will provide affordable and accessible learning experiences, and it will support what we've been calling for some years now, collective peer development. So we're bringing academia and practice together through marrying subject matter experts from practice and those engaged in research at the cutting edge of research and knowledge production and teaching. And we are developing a pedagogy building on what we've learned through now 8 years of delivering our industry-rooted Part 2 program, practice-oriented pedagogy. We are ensuring that our content is pitched at your needs, for your needs, at the demands of contemporary practice, that the whole way in which we're proposing you will be able to learn, we hope, is sympathetic to the day-to-day demands of running a business. We're trying to price these learning experiences and courses fairly. It is intended to be a profit-generating activity, but those profits will be ploughed back into new course development. And we very much want you, our colleagues in the practice network and in wider industry, to help shape what those new courses will be, and into initiatives which further our charitable aims, namely around accessibility, diversity and affordability in architectural education and practice. And all of this is driven, as I say, by our philosophy, our ideal of collective peer development, which was my predecessor, Will Hunter's renaming of continuing professional development. We've been talking about that now for 4 years. We've been engaging with you, our colleagues in practice, consistently over that time to get a sense of what your learning and training and wider CPD needs are, and trying to build an ever more reciprocal relationship with practice. The LSA is an architecture school. It is also a network, as you all know, now of over 200 practices operating within the Greater London area. But also, and we'll talk more about this over the next 20 minutes or so, to come up with a pedagogy that has design at its very core. And that's something that we feel the market, the CPD market and training market, has really failed to do, really failed to respond to with any imagination. And you will see how we have been doing quite the opposite. We've been really ensuring that our learning experiences allow you to use your design knowledge and design skills in order to learn. So our first 3 programs are as follows. We're going to launch in a couple of weeks a program called Nothing New about heritage and social sustainability. We're partnering with the Architectural Heritage Fund, which is a charity that provides capital loans and grants to community groups and social enterprises who've got hold of heritage assets. We see this as a course that can provide amazing opportunity for small and emerging practice in particular to gain experience on interesting cultural and public projects with ambitious, though sometimes inexperienced clients, and that can be a really useful stepping stone to start to deal with more burdensome public procurement processes for public and cultural projects. And we will be delivering that, as I say, with the Architectural Heritage Fund and pairing up practitioners with real-life projects, real-life clients. And we think it's a real opportunity to advocate for serious engagement with the historic environment, which, as we all know, is ever more urgent in the face of the climate emergency. We're also working on a course with Marsha Ramroop of Unheard Voices, former Director of Diversity and Inclusion at the RIBA, on a course around diversity and social value in architecture. And what that course will really do is help practice to score higher and with heart on EDI social value requirements through public and other procurement processes. So we hope that that will be of real value to your businesses, but also provide you with, I think, clear pathways to delivering impactful social value and EDI work. We're really conscious that there's an increasing burden on you to demonstrate how you do that, but your job is to produce buildings and built environments. We have done a lot of thinking around diversity and access, and we want to try and marry those together. And then Design for Life, Fire Safety and Property Resilience, which we're going to talk to you a little bit more about now, which is launching in May and is open for registration as we speak. And we've been developing this course, in a sense, our first program, for over a year now, with an incredible panel of subject matter experts, as I say, drawn from practice and from academia, that covers all the kind of mandatory knowledge requirements around health and life safety, around fire safety, and exceeds the existing regulatory and statutory frameworks to provide you with really valuable insight into securing and promoting asset resilience and property protection through design, which will be valuable to your teams and indeed to your clients. So Liam is going to talk in more detail about Design for Life. I suppose I just wanted to emphasize that we're starting with this course because the RIBA are already trialing the core competency requirement through an online test. It's voluntary for now. It is going to become, or is highly likely to become, mandatory for the 2024 subscription year. So we feel this is something that our colleagues in practice, you need to be ready for, because it's going to be a condition of chartered membership. Ethics and climate literacy will follow not far behind. So we want to make sure not only that you can pass the test, which will be a multiple choice questionnaire, but you are really abreast of the latest and most sophisticated thinking about health and life safety, about fire safety. And as I say, the courses that we have developed will cover the whole of the health and life safety knowledge schedule in the fullness of time. Liam will talk more specifically on CDM, Principles of Fire Safety Design, and Design Risk Management, which is built into the course that we are currently advertising. And Liam, again, is going to talk about this in more detail, but I just really want to emphasize how we have thought very deeply about design and design exercises as part of the learning experience. We've developed a number of those using published guidance, approved document B, and so on. So this one, giving an example, on the facade above, indicate how the arrangement of fenestration can be designed to limit spread of flame, and we'll be expecting you, and this is a pop quiz for everybody on the call now, because you will have exactly this in your mind, right? And this is what we're hoping this course is going to help you and your teams do. In the following room, how might ceiling profile be used to direct smoke away from the means of egress? And you all know that it's got to look something like that. And Liam will talk through this with much more expertise and knowledge than I possibly can. But that's what we're trying to do. We think it's important. The course that we've built in particular around fire is not just about technical competence. It is also about understanding the profound socio-political consequences of the tragedy of the fire at Grenfell. We don't feel that actually the profession, to be blunt, or architectural education and built environment education more broadly has responded with nearly enough seriousness to that. And I very much feel that the course that we've developed stands as a memorial actually to those who lost their lives in June 2017. And what we want all of our Part 4 courses to do is not just arm you with technical knowledge, but to make advocates for better design, better cities, which is really what the LSA is for. And we very much hope that that will be a feature that you all take to as you participate in our program. So at this point, I think I will hand over to Liam. I will be here to answer further questions later on in the call, but over to you, Liam.
Thank you very much for that, Neil. I'm going to share some slides in a moment, but I'll just leave the screen. Hopefully it's on speaker view for now. Because before I get into the details of the course, I suppose I want to just ask us to kind of reflect for a moment on the topic of this course, and really how fundamental it is to the design of the built environment, how kind of baked into the woodwork around us it is. And so I want to ask you just for a moment, wherever you're sat, to kind of have a look around you and think about the cable that is connecting your laptop to the wall, the wiring that's within your building, the way that's fused to stop it catching fire, the surfaces on the rooms that are around you that are designed to limit the spread of flame. If you've got a ceiling that's as nice as John's there, you might be able to see the sprinkler systems, the intumescent paints that are there to prevent structural collapse in the event of fire. The room that you're sat in will have a designated maximum limit of occupants for its capacity. It'll be sized in terms of fire safety requirements. Your desk will be a maximum distance from a door, and that door will be a minimum width and a maximum distance from a place of safety. So we know that fire and fire safety and property resilience are just everywhere we look. They're as it were, kind of, they're written into the woodwork of the built environment in a very profound way. And if you're in London, especially if you're in London in a building built any time before the Second World War, those details probably date back to a very specific event, then to the Great Fire of London, to the first building codes we have in the UK, which really did define the design of the City of London for 3 centuries afterwards, to such an extent that London is like fire safety codes in brick and mortar. That event defined what the facades, the structures of the city were made of, how far apart windows were, the plot widths, changed everyone's ownership patterns of the city, how far party walls stick above roofs, etc. So we're talking about a topic that it's not new, it's kind of always been with us and it's everywhere around us. And it's also always been an ethical, political question. We can think over that period from, say, the Great Fire till the mid-20th century, fire safety regulations have been a really important means to socialize and spread risk, to try and develop universal prescriptive standards. But nonetheless, fire disproportionately affects the poor. That hasn't fully succeeded. And since World War II, fire safety has really been fought over by a number of different interest groups, the ambitions for bespoke design, and particularly lobby groups seeking to bring new products to market. So there's a range of political issues and challenges to do with fire safety that have now become very popular part of our consciousness since Grenfell. So Grenfell made all of these things front page news and headline concerns for architects. And they revealed how important fire safety is to building design. And this course, as Neil says, it's a response to those events. So I'm going to just kind of share a screen and try and give you a little bit more detail about that course. Could someone confirm, is that sharing now? Could someone
Yes.
give me an audio? Thank you, because I've lost my screen. That's great. Okay, so as Neil has outlined already, the course responds in the first part to the Grenfell Tower fire and associated events that have made fire health and property resilience key professional concerns. And it's going to do that particularly by trying to make sure we introduce the mandatory competence frameworks that have been introduced by the RIBA and the ARB. So what the first thing we hope to do from this course is make sure that you leave it confident that you're going to be able to successfully complete the RIBA's test, and having prepared already a reflective statement that the ARB is going to require you to submit. But as Neil said as well, our ambition is to exceed those ambitions requirements and exceed them by some distance. And I think there's kind of three particular things which LSA wants to bring to bear on this topic. Neil mentioned already, we're really aware of the commercial pressures that professional practice is under, the kind of limits that might put on the way we can deliver safety in the built environment. And so one thing we really want to thematize is the financial dimension of this, and try to turn that into a positive, to really see where we can offer additional design services, find additional fees in offering to our clients the ability, say, to reduce their insurance premiums by design, but also to think about how we can reduce our PII. The other topic, which I think Neil has likewise mentioned, is we really want to show that design is central to this issue. And as he's said, and as I'll go into in a bit more detail, we're trying to put design right at the center of the curriculum of this, teaching as much of the course through design as we can. And then I think finally, the ambition is to put fire and property resilience into a political ethical framework. So what we're trying to do here is really empower you both to be confident in the way that you address those particular tests which are forthcoming, the way you can deliver fire safety and property resilience as a commercial service, but also to try and develop and support a new generation of practitioners who will engage critically and creatively with this topic, forging a culture of responsibility and excellence. So the course is going to run over 3 weeks, and it's going to be delivered in an in-person format, with weekly sessions on Friday afternoons from 2 to 5 p.m. located at LSA's Bowling Green Lane site, starting May 12th. The course is going to be structured through the RIBA plan of work. And so each of those 6 weeks is going to follow the kinds of fire, health, and life safety issues that arise through the duration of a building project. I'm going to just kind of briefly summarize here through this diagram what we're going to look at each week. So we're going to kind of begin by looking at the regulatory context that defines development. And we're going to ask questions like, what is it that caused Grenfell Tower? Was it regulation that was to blame? How is the architect's competence defined? And what other forms of expertise are required to deliver fire safety and resilience? So week one is really going to be framed through 2 questions then. defining life safety as a fundamental moral imperative of legal statute, but also trying to understand how we define through rules what competence is and who has it. Week 2, we're going to move on to a different concern, which is not covered so much in UK statute, and that is property resilience. We're going to think about the economic consequences of fire. We're going to think about what kinds of additional things we might be doing over minimum compliance to think about building a resilient built environment. So we're going to be thinking about how insurance shapes building design. We're going to be introducing additional kinds of design codes and strategies that we can use as architects in order to engage proactively with insurance and try and reduce liabilities by design. We're also going to think at the same time about how we charge for safety as a design service and how our own civil liabilities are defined and our own insurance limited. Week 3, we're going to get onto really a central issue of the course, which is design. We're going to be trying to understand, first of all, what is fire? What is its spatial characteristics? What kind of design principles should we employ to limit its spread? And we're going to reflect also on where fire safety and sustainability might come into conflict as design ambitions. So we're going to be mindful here of the different kinds of UK building standards frameworks, but we're really here going to be trying to deliver fundamental first principles for fire safety design. Week 4, we'll kind of zoom into that in more detail, thinking of a kind of technical design work stage, and try and look in greater detail at how materials respond to fire. How are they certified? How do we read product certification and know what they mean? And how can we detail for fire safety and recognize unsafe details? So a key ambition that we have in this course is to really try and see how could we as architects increase our competence such that if we saw a detail like those of the Grenfell Tower refurbishment, we would know that those details were unsafe. Week 5, we're going to return to what is a central part of the RIBA's mandatory competence test, which is about design risk management and the way that practices of risk management have been changed and developed post-Grenfell. So we're going to review principles which may be familiar from a CDM context, but think about how those have changed in contemporary practice. We're going to think about what key fire safety risks at the construction stage are, how we can design them out, and what our role is in checking for build quality in relation to fire and property resilience. We're going to finish that circle with the question of the user. So on the one hand, Grenfell revealed the kinds of problems which can emerge when a user group is not fully consulted as part of its design. So we're going to think about how we can engage better with stakeholders through the design process. But we're also going to think about the user as a responsible person and think about how insights from, for instance, facilities managers can be recycled into the design process. Okay, I want to just give a kind of just a few more bits of information about the actual mode of delivery of the course. So every week we're going to be offering a kind of pre-quiz, which participants will complete in advance of weekly sessions. And this is really intended to, as a kind of assessment, learning through assessment. So we're going to give you an opportunity before each week to really gauge a sense of where you are in terms of the standard that are expected by forthcoming RIBA tests, so that you can direct your learning to the places that really count. And the events, the in-person events themselves are going to be mainly structured through invited expert guest talks. So each week we'll have 2 guests who are going to be experts in their particular field. Those will include expert witnesses to the Grenfell inquiry, insurers, fire safety engineers, and of course leading architects to offer their own individual insights and advice. Each of those sessions will create an opportunity also for peer discussion between the participants on the course to discuss their own professional experience and share best practice. And each week we're going to be offering, the guests will be offering a kind of toolkit and particular takeaways which you can bring back to your own practice. For instance, guidance on developing property resilient strategies. But then just as kind of the one final point of the course delivery, which I want to stress, is the way that we're going to try to use design exercises. So part of that pre-quiz each week will be a series of textual questions, but also a series of design exercises that are designed to ask a number of different things of you. So one kind of exercise we're going to be trying to use, as I said, is asking us to look closely at construction details from a fire safety perspective and try and develop amongst ourselves a kind of increased competence at identifying fire safety features and fire safety problems when we look at architectural drawings. So looking, for instance, in this case, at the jamb detail of the Grenfell Tower fire, trying to understand what was the trajectory of spread, what were the material properties that allowed flame to spread in that way. But we also want to think about fire as a kind of generative dimension of design. So these are a set of exercises designed to think about how travel distance implies its own kind of architecture, whether that is through a building of a single means of escape or through two means of escape, that have volumetric implications upon the design of the built environment. And the final kind of exercise which we're going to do is we're going to ask you to take away some of these kinds of generative codes and analytic principles and look at your own design practice through them. Okay, so just to summarize, I suppose, what we're hoping each of you will take away from this course. So as I said, the first ambition is that you're going to be able to take with confidence the RIBA health and safety test. You're going to have prepared through our weekly exercises a reflective statement about how you've taken away learning and applied it within your own practice. But we're also hoping that through the particularly commercial and design oriented aspect of this course, that we're going to give you confidence to apply this intelligence within your design, and also to feel that you can situate this question within broader ethical, legal, and design terms. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing that, and we can open up to questions.
Brilliant, thank you, Liam. So people can put on their cameras or raise their hand if they've got questions, and we'll try and pick them up. And if you want to just deposit comments or questions in the chat, you're also welcome to.
And John and Neil, if I missed anything that you wanted me to cover and do.
I think that was pretty comprehensive and made me certainly very excited for the course, and I'm sure others feel the same. So thank you. Also evidently stunningly clear too. Alistair, how are you doing?
Hi Liam, hi Neil.
Hi.
Quick question for me just on practicalities. Do you expect one person from a practice to attend, or could a group of us come, and how would it would you teach to a room or an individual?
So I think for the program we're running in May, June, we're expecting individuals to sign up, as it were, but if a number of individuals from a practice want to come, great. We've got a capacity of 35 for this first run, because we want to do it in person in a studio space, and we want manageable cohorts. If there's demand, we'll run it again as soon as we can.
Grand, thanks.
Any other questions?
Yes, sorry. Hi, it's Nick here. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Are you guys running other courses throughout the year if you get full for this first batch?
That's right. If this sells out, we'll do a second run as soon as we can, and then the other two programs I mentioned, we hope to bring to market within the next month to 6 weeks. The program on heritage and on EDI, and then we've got other programs that we're developing in the medium to long term, but we were keen to get this one going because of the ARB and RIBA requirements.
All right, great, thank you.
Colin.
Hi there, I'm from Cullinan Studio. Are you aiming this for people who've recently taken their? I suppose the question is what sort of age group or professional experience are you aiming this at?
I think I'll let Liam elaborate, but I think it's aimed at anyone who feels competent to do it. I mean, obviously, we're focusing on the core competencies, which are requirements of are going to be requirements of everyone in professional practice and who is reapplying for chartered membership. So yeah, I think a whole breadth, a whole range of professional practice is where we're aiming it.
Yeah, so just to kind of reiterate or expand, so yeah, it's aimed at a general practitioner who doesn't already have specialist expertise in fire safety design. As Neil said, this is now going to be a mandatory ambition. We're going to be trying to make sure we cover these specialist knowledge that's going to be required for these new courses. So we believe it's relevant for everybody. And will definitely be, I think, so I teach this kind of content in a university setting, and it's going to be of a kind of higher level than that, and mainly delivered through practice to practice, practitioner to practitioner model, and we will have leading UK experts on this. So I think the standard will be high. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thomas.
Hi, Neil. Thanks for that critical question. And sorry if I missed this at the beginning, but what is the cost of this? And will it be the same for each of the courses that are within the Part 4 programme? Yeah,
the cost for this is £500. There is a discounted rate for member plus members of the practice network and alumni. We are selling these first courses essentially direct to customer as we build up a library of a catalogue of programs. We hope to make available a kind of subscription model, but that's some way off. I think for the time being, we want to get on and start delivering, again, for all the reasons I've set out.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Any other questions at this stage? In which case, I will just emphasize that registration is open for the programme starting on May 19th. And you can book on our website, the-lsa.org, on the Part 4 page, and we're happy to take payment that way. If you are wanting to us to invoice you, we're very happy to do that. And there's an email address, which is part4@the-lsa.org, and we can take payment forward that way as well. But registration is very much open, and we hope that you will join us.
One correction, Neil, the first week is May 12th.
There we go. Thank you.
And a final comment from me to practices who want to book more than one person from their practice to contact me, and I'll carry those conversations on with you. Most of you should have my contact details on an email from me somewhere, but it's john.n@the-lsa.org.
Great to see you all. Thanks for making the time, and we will hope to see you on the course, and we will be in touch with any new programs that we launch over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Thank you.
See you later.